Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to show you guys how to make 3D animations in After Effects. Well, a lot of people actually got this type of 3D as 2.5D because it's not totally 3D, you know, but then let's roll with it. So let's dive in.
Don't forget to like, share, comment, and
subscribe.
Okay, so here we are. So to create the 3D animation I have in mind just for this tutorial, we have this image here, which basically just going to cut up and prepare for 3D. So the idea is the camera is going to move through this garden, right? And it's going to move past certain things. So for example, you can see this group of flowers by this side. You can see this group of flowers. You can also see this group. You can see this tree and all that. And I think the image is actually quite high quality, so we shouldn't have a problem. Yes, 4000 pixels. So by the time we zoom in with the camera, we shouldn't have a problem. So yeah, this is what it's basically going to look like, you know, once we zoom in. All right, so let's just cut out these pieces roughly, because I don't want this tutorial to be too long. Okay, so what I'm going to do is Ctrl J. That makes a separate layer for that piece. Yep, let's get to the next one. I think the next one is this by the side. So I just quickly select that. Okay, Ctrl J as well. And let's also label this appropriately, because we'll be importing it into After Effects. Flower on the right, just so I know what exactly I'm animating. Oh, I was writing animating. Flowers on the left. Okay. I think I may want to do that center flower, or that one in the center, and that should give us enough room for some interesting things, I guess. So let's take a look. Just get down there. It turns out I don't have enough space or room for my mouse to move around, so I have to keep cutting some of these selections. Here we are. I think we're good. Okay. So Ctrl J. So Ctrl J is basically duplicating what I've selected. Once I have a selection like selected, Ctrl J basically just duplicates that part of the layer that you're on. That's why you see me going back to this background layer before I hit Ctrl J, because that's where the actual selection is. If I try to select on one of these layers, an area outside what is actually there, just watch. Exactly, you can make a selection from an area that is empty, so that's why I do that. So let's just label this correctly. Alright, so let's just go ahead and import this into After Effects. Alright, so let's dive in here. So just I believe people who are watching this aren't like new to After Effects and Photoshop, so but then if you click File, Import, you know, and you head back to where exactly the file was, just bring in your file and you're good to go. Yeah, retain layer sizes. So I'm just going to open up that composition, because once you do that, you automatically create some compositions. And yeah, you just go in. I'm just going to select the layers, Ctrl C to copy, and go back to my actual composition. That's SOC 3D animation in AE tutorial classwork, and it's quite long. But yeah, just copy that. So you know, I mean, they're off center because they are much larger than the actual composition. My composition is in this is quite off. It should be 1920. Yeah, 1920 by 1080p. Okay, we're good now. So I'm just going to align my layers to the composition and just oh, I shouldn't have done that. So the layers are currently in the right position, but once I align everything that way, it's just going to mess up the whole thing. So what I'll do is I'll parent on those layers to a null, and just put just label that null as, sorry, yeah, just label it as scene. Okay, so via that null, I can now increase or change the position and also scale down my whole scene without messing with the positions of the composition. So null objects like is a whole new tutorial on its own, but I guess we'll probably cover that in another video. So yeah, here's what we have. So to make a 3D scene, we'll basically have to create a camera. So create camera. Let's just label this flower scene camera, or camera first, and flower scene, just so it's easily identified. Yeah, 50 millimeters. And you want to do a one node camera, so if you're having issues with certain things, you probably picked a 2-node camera instead. Now I'm just going to create a null and parent my camera to that, just so I have extra layers of control and I don't mess up anything. So I basically just need to make all my layers 3D. Yep, so they all become like movable in 3D space. So yeah, I'll basically using my camera null to move the camera instead. So a null object basically gives you an extra layer of animation by taking on the properties of all the layers parented to it, basically. But if you don't understand what that means, just hold on for the null object tutorial and just create another parent your camera to it by dragging this pick whip. Alright, so what we're going to do is first arrange our elements in 3D space. I'm just going to create a top view. So what I want to do is just move some of these items back in space, just so it has that 3D effect. So I'm just going to move the main background. Let's see how that looks. Okay, doesn't look bad, but then we're probably going to have to scale up some of these elements inside. The idea is to create an illusion of depth, you know, that makes it look like, oh, these guys are in 3D, you know, 3D space. So let's just go back to our top view and move this back a little bit. So don't worry about the scale or anything. We can always scale things up to look proper. So let's just move that one more time. Let's see how we look here in our main camera. Okay, not looking too bad. Alright, let's arrange the other items as well. So going by what we see in the scene, these flowers on the side are much closer than other items, and then the one in the center is the farthest. So let's just move that. Go to our top view and move the center flower. So let's just move that closer to the back. And then I'm not sure which of the flowers at the side is closer to the camera, but then my guess would be this one. So let's just take that back in 3D space as well. So the top view is basically showing me the scene from the top, and because they are actually 2D layers, they are flat layers, like I said, it's 2.5D. They are basically showing up as these thin lines because I mean they are 2D, they are flat. That's why it looks that way. Alright, so now let's just scale things up so they look much better. I'll start by scaling up the main scene. Yes. Okay. Turns out that's the only thing I need to scale, really. But yeah, I think we're good here. Yeah, I think we're fair here. Let's just move this flower on the left up a bit. Okay, so you can move the objects around with these controls. The green arrow, once you just hover over it, it's going to show you Y. That's because you can move it along the Y axis, you know. And then this red arrow is for, once you hover over it, you see it's for the X axis, so you can move it on the X axis. That's from side to side. Then the blue arrow, once you see me hovering over the blue thing, it shows me the movement in Z space, which is basically forward or backward or further away from you or closer to you, basically. So I'm just going to hold on with that and adjust our center flower as well and bring it down a bit to the side. Okay, looking pretty good if you ask me. Now, so what I'm going to do is to arrange some text and some hopefully interesting looking things. Let's just say yes. Who doesn't want to be told yes? So let's just say yes, and have that somewhat behind the center flower. Yeah, so let's make this a 3D layer. Don't forget, for your camera to view or to see your object as 3D, they have to be made 3D layers for that to work. So let's just move this up, and now for the trick, let's make sure it is actually behind the camera, I mean behind the center flower in 3D space. And if I remember correctly, this is where our center flower is, so we're just going to move it behind it, and that should fix what we have here. Exactly. I mean, looks beautiful. More interesting sort of method for creating 3D environments. So alright, we're good. Let's create some other text which we can have in front of the much earlier flowers. So for those, let's say let's just say let's have a number 1.5. Let's see how that looks. I just move that in X space. Yeah, and let's make the size smaller. Let's say 200. Yeah, just so we can make yes the center of the scene, basically. Alright, so let's move that down. Yeah, and then let's move it in front because it's still showing behind the center flower, but we want to have that in front of it. Right, so let's just move this forward in this space. Exactly. So this is the center flower, it's in front of it, but also behind the flower on the left. So let's go back to our active camera. Yeah, looking great. So let's create one more and see. Well, let's use a shape layer there. And let's just create a shape layer that does a quick trim paths animation ish. This is the circle instead. Okay. Well, let's take away the fill and give it some stroke. Let's give it a color from the scene just so we look more interesting. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Now let's make this a 3D layer. Let's just label that circle trim. Okay. Alright, so let's move it in 3D space. Let's move this to the right, and then let's move it behind our flower on the right, which is, let's bring this here. Yeah, so I think we should be good. Amazing. So here's what we have. Interesting stuff. So what we're going to do is just basically move. We're basically going to just move the camera in 3D space so it looks like, oh wow, we're moving past these things. So let's bring up our position and let's keyframe this particular point in time because this is the starting point. And then let's move forward in time and just really pushing on the scene. Yeah, let's just go in and really move past everything. Yeah. So what I also want to do is, or before I go ahead, I'm just going to track back, undo. What I want to do is to separate the the dimensions of position, because I want to be able to animate it from forward to back, left to right, and top to bottom differently. So what I'm going to do is just separate dimensions. Yeah, so that gives me the ability to animate each range of motion differently, you know. So I'm just going to move in, move much closer. Yeah, so we just move into yes, and that's for the Z space. Now for this, I want to move from side to side in a way, so I'm just going to start by moving closer to the right, and then to the left, just so we sort of get a good view of the surrounding. And then I'm going to move back to the center where we can see yes. Okay, that's great. I think this happens too quickly though, but let's see. Let's see what we have. You may want to reduce this a little bit. So let's see. So you can see there's an issue with my keyframes here. So I'm just going to make select all of them and hit just right click, assistant, easy ease, so it just makes the movement much smoother. Exactly. Awesome. But then I want to spread this across time, so I'm just going to hit on my keyframe graph and select all my keyframes. So if you don't see this selection transform thing on, then that means you need to hit this to have that on. So yeah, you can just drag it from side to side, or drag it or extend it to however long you want the keyframes to last. So let's look at that now. Okay, looks amazing. I really hope you guys are learning stuff from this. So I think I basically have what I need in terms of movement. So what I'm going to do is just create certain properties of the camera, or tweak certain properties of the camera that I want to use to make the scene look more interesting. For example, depth of field and all that. So I'm just going to turn that on here. So you can just get that by clicking that on your camera, going to camera options, so depth of field, and we may want to zoom in for this. So you can see there's already some depth because yes is already blurry. Alright, so what we're going to do is reduce the aperture, I believe. So what we have here is this movement from side to side and straight up to our yes. So amazing. So we sort of move out of frame here, and I want to fix that. I don't want us to move too much because we don't have that much zoom yet. So yes, let's fix that. Fortunately, I can't preview, so I'm just going to go in. Yeah, I'll delete this altogether. Just move just so slightly. All right. So let's slide movement out of frame, but I'll just bring this to another null and scale it up. Scale up this in. Yeah, I think we should be good now. Great. So to make the animation more interesting, we're just going to have some of these things animate on. So for this circle, we're going to do a trim path. Let's just see where that keyframe is, right about here. Let's do a trim path, add trim path. Right, so starts 100, and then we're just going to right click and paste some nice keyframes there. Yep, so that just animates on as we move to it. For 1.5 as well, let's just do a quick animation on the text. Start by creating a mask. Yes, and now we'll animate the position. Exactly. So start from here, and then we just move out, and then we'll have some nice keyframes as well. So exactly, and then we come over to yes. By the time I'm coming over, he's already coming out, so let's just make a mask for this as well and animate the position. So we're good here, and then just drag this down and paste our keyframes. Okay, exactly. So that's what we have. So this is a pretty simple 3D animation. There are a couple things you could do to make this even more detailed, like adding a depth of field, which can be tricky, and maybe adding some shadows on the text just to show the fact that they are behind something, but that's all up to you. But here's what we have, and yeah, I think it looks pretty decent. So So you can arrange all sorts of stuff in 3D space and animate however you like, as long as the camera doesn't move out of frame, and you know, you're still looking good at the end of the day. So
alright, so I hope now you can create some really interesting animations. You know, the possibilities with this are actually, you know, lots. You can do some really interesting things, you know, with camera movements, you know, landscapes and all that stuff. So go crazy with it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. You know, there's one out there who needs this tutorial, so please share it with people, comment, like, and see you in the next video.